everyone for
and apologies from your two councillors, Glenn Livingston and David East. Glenn's actually dashing back here to try and get here in time for this submission. So if he runs in the door at the last minute, you'll know that he's made it. But otherwise, you know, you'll know that he died in the attempt.
Well, we don't want that.
No. But unfortunately, there was a clash of meetings, which and there are some. That's why I'm mentioning it to you.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
He's been very supportive and helpful in this process with us.
Great.
So the main point of the submission we made was that we would like some money set aside for a community hub in the LTP for our community. The reason for this, a needs assessment was commissioned by the community board that was completed in 2017, and that really clearly identified the need for this community hub. So even before the earthquakes, Dallington was identified as having very little in the way of community facilities. It has a predominantly older demographic, and that has become more so since the red zoning of some of the properties, about half of our area. And because of that, social isolation and loneliness are identified as a common problem amongst our residents, and obviously one that we're really concerned about. Developing a facility that builds social connectedness and well-being is seen as really important. Yay!
Oh, here he is! I told them that you were dashing back or that you would die in the attempt, so thank goodness you're alive.
Thank goodness. We really need him to help us.
Bebe's just started.
Yeah, so. I have just started. I've just mentioned that the needs assessment that was done by Sarah Wiley has identified the need for a facility in our area. Yeah. The community profile, which the council did in 2014, also identified the lack of facilities in our area and the need for such facilities. So there seems to be a very clear identification of the need for something in our area. Certainly myself, I'm recently become the chair of the Dallington Residents Association, and I've been working to hold public meetings in our area around the residential red zone and the future of our area. We're starting now to kind of come out of a period of quite a lot of difficulty and looking forward. And in doing that, we find we have to go to other areas to hold our meetings because there is nowhere for our community to meet to discuss our community needs. Literally nowhere. We understand that situation the council finds itself in. You know, a lot of money spent on infrastructure, including in our area. We've got this amazing new pump house at the end of our street. We know the money that got spent on infrastructure, and we know that the council doesn't have a lot of money to spare. And we have been thinking long and hard about how we can provide for ourselves and what we can do to help ourselves. But the reality is that we are a small community and we're not a wealthy community. It's very hard to go to the residents of our community and ask for money to build them a facility. We need help to achieve this goal. So rather than asking for a facility for Dallington, we've joined together with the Avondale and Burwood Residents Associations and collectively thought about what our needs might be as a group of residents associations, because we have an affinity. We are all adjacent to a red zone. We're close together. We're river communities. And so we can see how we could support each other to get ourselves a facility. The next step for us was to complete a feasibility study that will help us to identify how we'd use a community facility, what we need it for, and kind of look in more detail at what that need is. This will give us a better idea of what we need and how much money we need to spend on it. I mean, I've gone and had a look at a range of different ones. So I've been to Mount Pleasant as a really lovely facility. The new one at Aranui is awesome. I went today to talk to Renew Brighton and looked at the Central New Brighton School and the facility they have there and the Phillipstown Hub. So I've gone and had a bit of a canvas at all the different ways that you can do community hub, and we're prepared to think creatively about how to get what we want. I'm aware that there are some schools that are moving away from our area at the end of the year, and maybe there's facilities that will become available at that time. Also aware that the former Burwood School it has been shifted off that site. It's now an empty site. I was gutted to realise that we'd waited too long to try and halt the removal of the buildings off that land.
Yeah, I couldn't believe
it. Happened really quickly, and so the land is still there. It's currently in the process of disposal from the MOE. We'd like to stop that process if we can, because as a site, it's beside the Burwood Church. It's right at the hub of our community, so it is at the centre of Horseshoe Lake, Burwood, Avondale and Dallington. It's right by the bridge. It's because it's a former school site, it's right on the bus routes in and out. It's really accessible for a range of different people. So at the very least, we'd like to look at that as a potential site for a community facility, and anything that council can do to stop the disposal of that land from, I assume it goes from MOE to LINZ, and preventing LINZ from disposing of it would be great. As I said, we're prepared to think creatively about how to get what we want, but we do need help. And we were disappointed to see that there was no money set aside for something that has been identified as a need in our communities, and we would like you to reconsider this.
Has Banks Ave, I mean, that's going to relocate.
Yes.
It's just that we had a submission earlier on that didn't match you with Burwood and Avondale. It actually matched you with Richmond and some of Shirley, and they also have some similar challenges.
Yeah, and I'm aware that Shirley also had a community centre and has asked for that to be reinstated.
Yeah, but there was a discussion this morning about whether that's actually on the right site for the wider greater good, and I don't know what Banks Ave's moves are, but they have not moved out of their site yet, so I'm not exactly sure where they're going.
Just a case of different geography.
Yeah.
With the two lots of groups.
Yeah. Vicky?
Thank you for a really good submission. Have you thought about the possibility, since you all border the red zone, of putting a building that is able to be adapted into the red zone and using it for red zone tours and things, as well as a community centre?
Yes,
Yep.
we definitely have. And also just thinking about the heritage aspect as well.
Yeah.
So, Dallington is an old neighbourhood, and we have an interest in heritage and Heritage Trail, and something that connects those things up as well in our red zone. For
And what's your thinking on that? Are you keen on that?
I am. But there's also the feasibility of building something temporary or permanent in the residential red zone, and
Very
how
possible.
that actually works. Yeah.
It's very possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good. Glenn, did you?
Yeah, it's hard to ask a question because I know that we've been having all these meetings between Burwood and Avonside Dallington, and full credit I must say to Natalie Daly for organising the group from council staff.
Yes.
Thank you, Natalie. Do you have a particular kind of build in mind, if it, for Dallington when you?
Well, ideally we'd like something similar to what other suburbs have got, like what Aranui has, but also, I think we have a need for a facility, and if that's a relocated school building on a red zone site, then that's a start for us. It's a step up from nothing, which is what we currently have. It's something
Pauline?
to build on.
Pauline?
I was just going to ask if you, with the Burwood Primary School, would you need all of that site? Or
No,
just
it's
part of
huge,
it?
isn't it? Yeah, I had a look at it today actually.
Massive.
There's an area just behind there's a war memorial,
Yeah.
and there's a bit of flat land just behind that, which would be, I think, a nice spot for
It would actually,
a
because that
facility.
would give the memorials more status as well.
Exactly.
And have events there.
Yeah, because at Anzac, there is an Anzac event there each
There
year
is.
anyway.
They wouldn't
It
be
would
selling
nice.
that part anyway, so
Yeah.
Mm.
that's good.
Yep, 39 seconds.
Just quickly, I'll just, like the Mayor's comments, Banks Ave School and Burwood School, so I'm interested why you've chosen Burwood versus Banks Ave, which is moving as well.
Banks Ave's right in the middle of Dallington, but it's also not adjacent to Burwood or Avondale, and we're looking for something that will suit the needs of a variety of community and for Horseshoe Lake as well.
Yeah, but maybe, I mean, as I said this morning, when we were listening, it was very much the connection between Richmond and Dallington, which is a strong connection as well. I mean, there's more than one connection in those areas, but if we had existing buildings that we were allowed to keep at least for a period of time, it would be such a relief. And that's an area that's been red zone, so you know, again, they're looking at 5-year leases now for temporary use, and that would be enough to really get things going.
Yep.
But anyway, let's have some conversations arising from this, but thank you very much for your submission. It's certainly very, very helpful, and we want to.
So you're actually saying that is your preferred site, Burwood Primary?
I actually think we don't have a preferred site.
So
We've
you're
looked at a
open
variety
Yeah,
of sites,
but
and I think we'll do a
their-
feasibility study.
Yeah,
which
their
will-
issue was to look at the 3 communities,
Yeah.
you know, that were affected by the red zoning. So it was Burwood, Dallington and Avondale. And you can see a connection, but you can also see a connection with Avonside, Dallington and Richmond. Even though there's the river in between, they're actually quite similar communities. Yeah.
And,
Anyway.
and you wouldn't mind if your community centre was used by other groups for all
No.
sorts of things?
No, of course not.
No, no. Right answer. All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Cheers.